Happy birthday to you.
Don't.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Evan.
Happy birthday to you.
You live in a zoo.
More.
You
look the animal. Hello and welcome to So to Speak. I'm Lyle Groniger. Evan Mead's eating, and Cody. We are joined with our guest Cody McDonald, and today we're going to talk about 5 of our favorite albums.
Yeah, I just got in. I had a bit of a long day, so I'm kind of just. I picked up some Indian food on the way home, so yeah.
It's your birthday today.
Yeah,
it is. A long day.
It is, yeah.
Happy birthday, Evan.
Thank you very much.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Yeah, so it's musical albums.
Yeah. This whole idea was brought together by Lyle and Cody. Actually came up with this episode idea because they're very passionate about music, and
yeah, for sure.
I am too. Well, Lyle is like a musician. You know, check out. I'll let him insert the little promotional label for his band.
I got my band together right now. We're called Moody Boy. I released an album last year about. It's a fan album about Toy Story. It's pretty well received, so if you want to check that out down below, click the link. Plug. I'm a sellout.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so we're going to start, and Cody plays as well.
Yeah.
And I only play acoustic guitar, but I've dabbled with drums, keyboard, and in grade school I played clarinet, and I went through a bass guitar phase as well, just like Lyle.
I'm still going.
But it's been mainly acoustic.
Yeah, you're quite good
kind
with
of sticking to my first guitar.
Yeah.
Quite good with acoustic, I must say.
Can't say I'm.
Appreciate it.
I did, aside from playing the trombone when I was in elementary school, didn't really have much of an instrumental gig outside of school. I have expressed interest in being a singer, and quite honestly, when I was in high school, I actually would sing at this bi-monthly rock cafe that we would have, where we would audition, the school would audition local talent, and I would sing there. To this day, I'm actually kind of nervous that they only, let me go up on stage just to make a mockery of how bad my singing was. But, that would just be a kind of a cruel waste of time and resources. So, I'm not sure.
Did you have fun at least, like while you were on stage?
Kinda, yeah.
And then silver lining.
Yeah.
I think that's all it's about.
I don't think it really matters. It's just karaoke. I mean,
fair enough. Yeah.
The trick with singing is sometimes, like even when I try to think if I have like a decent voice, I always come off like I'm trying to sound like the music that I'm into, when I should just really try to find my own, sound, like sing naturally instead of just trying to mimic what I hear.
That is literally, Cody.
That's easy to do, but yeah.
That is literally word for word the issue I have with singing, Cody. So thank you for highlighting that. Yeah. So,
Evan, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. Tonight we're going to talk about 5 different albums that we grew up with that have meant something to us over the years. So, I would like to start by talking about, and we're all going to do 5 albums each.
Yes.
I would like to talk about Led Zeppelin IV. Led Zeppelin IV is the 4th album by Led Zeppelin.
You don't say.
And, well, I mean, yeah, you don't say.
It's the album that comes after 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah,
right?
but hey,
not before 5.
Not before 5. So, Lyle, refresh me on the questions again, bud.
Okay. Well, in summary, we have some questions that we're going to go through. What do you love most about the album? Why'd you pick this one out of all the other Led Zeppelin albums?
Well, this album doesn't have my gateway song to Led Zeppelin. My gateway song to Led Zeppelin was on the album Led Zeppelin III. And that was Immigrant Song, but there are some amazing tunes on Led Zeppelin IV, and it's honestly like some of the most memorable songs by this band were on this one album. My favorite by far, I think, is either going to be Battle for Evermore or Black Dog. I can't decide which one.
Battle for Evermore is an amazing song. It's very poetic and it's like a story.
Yeah.
Lyrics.
Well, keep in mind, the boys who wrote the music were very inspired by Lord of the Rings, which was a huge pop culture phenomenon in the 1970s because the J.R.R. Tolkien novels were all the rage back then. I mean, they were written they were published decades before, but in the 70s for some reason, they just hit a pop culture phenomenon streak, and they were everywhere. This was 30 years before the movies, mind you.
Yeah.
Yeah. 25, 30 years before the movies.
Did you guys know that the band themselves don't really care about Stairway to Heaven all that much?
Really?
There's
so much effort.
I was looking...
Well,
I mean, I was looking up facts, fun facts about the album, and I kind of missed that detail. I did hear that they think Four Sticks is, not a bad... They don't even think it's a bad song. They don't even think any of their songs on the album are bad. They just think, yeah. I don't know where it was.
It's one of the lesser of
It is one... Yeah, no, Four Sticks is kind of like the Paranoid of the album, but...
Paranoid was pretty good, because that was a song they literally...
It was kind of like a...
filler song. No, yeah, Four Sticks was a filler song, and you can... When you listen to Four Sticks, you can tell it's filler, but it still sounds damn good.
Well, that's ironic, because that's actually my favorite track on the album.
Four Sticks? Wow.
Yeah, I love Four Sticks.
Yeah, no,
a very close second would be Misty Mountain Hop.
That's a good one.
But I think, I don't know, honestly, the Dark Horse to me, that's kind of tricky because you got Black Dog, Rock and Roll, and Stairway to Heaven. Yeah. Those are three classic songs.
I really
When the Levee Breaks is a pretty great song.
That's probably my pick because I love the drum pattern in that song.
Yeah.
It makes you want to climb a mountain.
Not Misty Mountain Hop?
This song just reminds me of driving out in a Cadillac somewhere when it's black and white. The desert.
My favorite driving song on the album would have to be Going to California. It's a good album. I like the theme of adventure that... Okay, it starts off as... Okay, if you listen to the songs in sequential order, they sound like they are just, kind of dicking around because they have these funky tunes. Black Dog and Rock and Roll are very funky, but then...
Very standard.
But then once you get into Battle of Evermore, Stairway to Heaven, and then Misty Mountain Hop, it goes from just a funky album to this actual epic adventure, and that's kind of what I really like about it.
Well, what's nice is that if you actually have the vinyl, the ending of side 1 is Stairway to Heaven, and that's a great kind of finale to the first half. And then when you flip it around, you got Misty Mountain Hop kicking everything off, and then it's a perfectly structured album in that sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And it is worth. If we're going to talk about Led Zeppelin, I have to be honest about something. Up until 2003, they were notorious for not giving music licensing rights to filmmakers to use their songs in movies. A little movie called School of Rock, which admittedly got me into rock and roll music, changed all that because they begged Led Zeppelin to have a song, the Immigrant Song, in that movie, and even though the song is used very briefly in that movie, it stuck with me. It's worth mentioning Thor Ragnarok did it better, but it's not a competition.
Sure. Thor Ragnarok stole that song.
Well, do you remember that Chris Hemsworth and Jack Black actually had a friendly Instagram feud as to over which movie used the song better, and ultimately it was Thor Ragnarok?
Well, it used it twice, for God's sake.
Yeah, no, that's true. Thor, Immigrant Song became the unofficial theme song of the Thor franchise, so...
Makes sense, it's Viking rock.
It really is. But we're talking completely different album. So Yeah, what I like about this album is just the theme of adventure. It gave a home to some of the most iconic, not just Led Zeppelin songs, but rock songs of all time. So you got to give it credit where credit's due. And I'll apologize in advance, audience, if I have trouble identifying one favorite songs. It's very difficult.
Well, if you list a couple, like just
Black Dog, Misty Mountain, Hoffman, Battle for Evermore, and of course Stairway to Heaven are my top three. Stairway to Heaven. I feel like this is one of those songs where like, how can I praise it by saying something that hasn't been said a million times? Like, I'm now a music critic, but I just love the way it evolves as you listen to it as a tune. And then it starts off quiet and it's just serenading you. And then it ramps up into this epic rock tune, and then it quiets back down. And it's no wonder that Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen got criticized for being a ripoff of Stairway to Heaven, because the progression in in Bohemian Rhapsody is very similar to Stairway to Heaven. It starts off slow, very operatic, and then it gets into an epic, active rock tune. I don't think the tracks are identical. They're not. But
no,
yeah.
No, one is more like, I mean, Stairway to Heaven is almost like folk rock at the beginning, and then
it really is
into hard.
Yeah.
But Bohemian Rhapsody it's very operatic. I mean, that's like Queen's sound.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no. So a fun fact about the album. Led Zeppelin themselves, they have no issue with the fact that their name or logo isn't on the album cover, and there is no significant reason as to why they picked that album cover. It just appealed to them, and they just threw it up there.
Why not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's my first pick. Led Zeppelin IV, great album.
That's
I'll
funny.
always love
And
it.
it's funny, like, we literally just talked about my third favorite album of all time.
Are you serious?
And
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
and later on, Lyle, you're going to bring up my second favorite album of all time, but I will be bringing up my favorite album of all time. I'm going to save that for last, actually.
For the record, folks, I do not have a favorite album of all time. I have a favorite movie of all time. I just don't have a favorite music album of all time.
You'll find one eventually.
I know.
Yeah.
Alright, Cody, so what's your first pick of the night?
My first pick of the night is Peter Gabriel's So.
Oh, yeah.
That's the name of the album.
So.
And just to do a quick little, like, I tried as much research as possible to clarify if this was, like, real or not, but there's a myth or, like, some sort of urban legend that Peter Gabriel, the reason why he chose this to be the name of his album is because are you guys familiar with Peter Gabriel at all?
Somewhat.
I know the song Sledgehammer, which
Sledgehammer.
Yeah, that's the song that is off of this one. So
yeah.
He was mainly known for, I don't know if you guys know, you guys obviously know Genesis, right?
Yeah. I know Genesis. Yeah.
So he was the lead singer of Genesis back in the 70s before Phil Collins took over. Yeah. But Phil Collins was also part of the band. He was just more of the drummer, but he became more of the lead singer as the 80s era started after Gabriel left.
I know. I knew a guy in high school who blames Phil Collins for ruining Genesis.
Yeah, I mean, there's different eras about Genesis. I respect either or. It's kind of it became more pop rock as time went on, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But with Peter Gabriel, when he went off to do his solo career, he did 4 kind of more experimental albums before doing So. And with So, he wanted to, like, step away from that sort of mentality of him experimenting with, like, sounds and, like, making things a lot more, like, darker themed. He just wanted to make something a little bit more accessible and, kind of going back to his roots about loving, like, world beat and soul and, and pop to a certain extent. So there's a myth out there where the producers were kind of asking him, okay, look, like, we like that, we don't mind you doing that, but how are we going to market this album? Because they didn't mind him doing like a portrait kind of album where it's just him, like as you're gonna show in the podcast, the album is just him, like in black and white. But they're like, you got to come up with some title that really pops, and they kept giving him reason after reason of why an album should sell the way it is based on a title, and he just kept going, so what, and then eventually he's just like, we're gonna call it that. So
it's like an anti-title.
Pretty much.
Like almost like a resentment of like corporate like expectations. That's kind of cool,
exactly,
honestly.
Yeah.
It would be even better if it had like a question mark next to it, but you know, whatever. So instead it's just like so.
Yeah. But going into the album, I don't know, this might not be like, I mean, I think Evan would probably like this a little bit more. It kind of falls in line of like some like solo artists like Sting.
Yeah, I did get kind of that vibe from him.
I mean, I love his voice. I love his kind of raspiness, but also he can hit really nice high notes sometimes. The album, when I first heard this, it was actually right after I graduated high school, and how I got into it is because I watched Say Anything.
Oh, nice.
Game of Thrones, Say Anything, and the song in that movie that John Cusack uses at the end to impress, you know, the girl of his dreams to win her back when he holds the boombox over his head in that famous scene. It's the song In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel. And I really liked that song, so I looked up the album and I heard it, and I kind of this album just kind of clicked with me because it's both like I kind of my personality is kind of like, I always describe myself as like a sensitive goof. Like, I like to, like, you know, I'm kind of in touch with myself, but I just like to have fun and be goofy. So this song literally goes back and forth between very, like, sentimental, kind of darker, somber songs to just, like, upbeat, fun, kind of, you know, party songs. Like, so my favorite song off of this album, I would probably have to go with the very first one that kicks it all off, Red Rain. Just a very, very somber lyrics, very kind of, like, heavy drums in it, and like the organ in it is very powerful. It also has one of the best bass lines I've ever heard in the song that you just mentioned, Lyle, Sledgehammer. It's a very fun, funky song.
It has one of the best music videos of all time.
Oh yes, it's all like in like kind of stop motion.
Yeah, it's stop
like
motion.
A train's going around his head and all that. Yeah.
And you know the company that was responsible for it?
Who was that?
Aardman Animation.
Oh, wow.
The guys behind Wallace and Gromit.
That's crazy.
It was one of their earliest projects. And Nick Park, the developer of Aardman, actually had a section where he animated just in the middle.
Yeah.
That's one thing I always appreciate. It's like, oh, so before Wallace and Gromit, they had this or something around. Or maybe Wallace and Gromit came out after or before, I don't know. But yeah, they were responsible for that.
Yeah.
Nice. Jeez.
So it's Cody. It's funny you're talking about Peter Gabriel as one of your as one of your favorite albums. Yeah, I just found out. I just learned something about you the other day that you consider WALL-E one of your favorite films of all time.
Oh yes.
And
yeah,
Peter Gabriel collaborated with, I think, Thomas Newman. Well, Thomas Newman composed the music for WALL-E, but Peter Gabriel wrote the song Down to Earth, which actually I think got an Oscar nomination, or it won an Oscar. Yeah. No, I love Down to Earth. It's
coming down
to the ground. There's no better place to go. We got snow.
He also has a very nice cover of Heroes, David Bowie's Heroes.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
It's a very, and it's more sad. Like, it's very underplayed.
Is that the cover that they played at the end of Lone Survivor with Mark Wahlberg?
Yes.
Because I saw that in the theater and that song came out. I'm like, hey, I know this song. It's Heroes. Yeah. And I'm like, wow.
It's funny when you said. I thought actually it was Patriots Day, but yeah, it's Lone Survivors.
Yeah. I saw Lone Survivor in the theater.
They all kind of feel the same.
I get those three Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg movies mixed up a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul Greengrass. Is it Paul Greengrass who makes all those like movies about?
Peter Berg.
Peter Berg.
Paul Greengrass also makes because Paul Greengrass made Green Zone, which is based on a true story. He made 22 July based on a true story, and the Bourne movies. But yeah, there's a style to them.
Peter Berg works exclusively with Mark Wahlberg.
But we digress.
We really digress.
Yeah.
So, Cody, is
But,
there
no,
anything?
I mean, just to kind of close it off, like, not really much to say about it in terms of fun facts, but it was just recorded at the Ashcombe home in Somerset, England.
Yeah.
As far as recommendations would go, for you, Lyle, I would actually want to listen to the very last track. This is the picture.
This is the picture.
And in brackets, excellent birds. It has a very cool bass line in it. It's not like it's funky, but very like underplayed and very
nice.
like I don't know.
I like how I'm the designated bass guy. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evan, I would recommend That Voice Again.
Oh yeah.
Because there's a part in that song where he holds like a note for like 12 seconds, a very high, loud note for about 12 seconds. It's pretty impressive. And,
That's
I
great.
don't know, that kind of gives me some Sting vibes that I think you'll probably get a kick out of.
Oh yeah. Cool.
But a gateway songs would probably be like Sledgehammer and In Your Eyes.
Yeah. If you haven't heard those
I've
songs,
heard Sledgehammer, but not In Your Eyes.
Yeah.
And a very nice duet with Kate Bush with Don't Give Up.
Oh, all right.
Nice.
Like his lyrics are very simple. They're very simple. They can almost be interpreted as corny, but I wouldn't go so far as saying corny. It's just very simple, straightforward. But yeah.
Oh, very
So
good.
that's it.
All right. So, is that all you have to say about on So to Speak?
So to speak. So to speak.
So to Speak. So is good.
So, but I don't know.
But I don't know.
Next?
Alright, I haven't really picked an order for mine yet. I have two very mainstream albums.
Oh, then I know what I'm going to talk about next.
One that's pretty like underground, another one that's like kind of in the middle of the road, like it's very niche. And there's one that's
Bring
like,
on the punk music.
you want punk music? Alright, motherfucker, I'll give you punk music. My first pick of the night is Static Age by Misfits. So, do any of you guys listen to Misfits?
I know the song Hybrid Moments, is your favorite, ironically.
Yeah, Hybrid Moments is definitely my favorite song on
Hybrid
this
Moments is a great tune.
It's the perfect song that makes you feel like a few more minutes and school will be done and I can rush out the door. It's like,
Is this the song that plays at the very end of Jackass the movie?
yeah, that song plays in Jackass the movie. It also has a small bit in mid-90s, and I'll touch on that near the end of my discussion.
I remember that song. That's a good skater rock song.
Oh, well, yeah. Skateboards didn't even exist when they made this song. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say that, but anyways. So the thing about Misfits that kind of ticks me off is I see a lot of kids like half my age wearing like t-shirts of them, and I kind of look puzzled because they don't look like the types that would listen to something by Misfits.
You sound like such a boomer.
That's a very boomerish thing to say, I know.
Like, back in my day,
people wore shirts that represented themselves. Alright, but anyways, so what I love about Static Age is that it has a relentless energy that carries over from each and every track. There's always this thunderous amount of distortion, and it's always like a heavy sound in each and every song. I don't think there's a single soft song in the entire album. And the themes range, it's a very bipolar album, because on the one hand, it has like a lot of cute send-offs to classic B movies and stuff from the 1950s. Like they have the song called Return of the Fly, and rather than put a whole lot of thought into the lyrics, they just say the title and the cast members and the director, and that's the verse. Misha, Return of the Fly.
I'm looking at the track list right now, and it seems like some of these songs only go for like a minute and a half.
Well, that's punk rock, man. I mean, you don't have to overstay your welcome.
And then it's funny how you get to like the longest song ever. It's like 8 minutes and 43 seconds, and then followed by a 6-second song called Studio Screw-Ups.
Yeah. It's just fun.
That's pretty funny.
But yeah, so like I'm talking like there's a lot of like, I mean, Misfits is a horror punk band, so of course they're gonna talk about a lot of horror stuff. But then sometimes the songs get a little real, and they start talking about the actual horrors and atrocities of man. Probably the best example would be Bullet, which is a song that literally is all about the assassination of John F. Kennedy and his wife, who after seeing her husband dies, viciously tries to like gather his semen to create a master race of presidents.
Wow.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so all bets are off with that song. They also have another song called Last Caress, which is all about a guy who loves to kill babies and rape their mothers.
What?
This is a good song. This is a good album to start off with. And I think the only reason he does any of this is because he knows he won't be punished for it after he dies, and that's why he's like, I'll be waiting for the day I die because I know nothing can happen to me afterwards. Like, there's just like, that's the weird thing about this album. It's very bipolar. Some songs are kind of cute, and it's like, all right, these guys are just cinephiles. But then there's some other, when I hear the other songs, it's like, I think there's a couple other words that end with "file" that I could use to describe some of these songs. But yeah. But the thing I love about Misfits is that Glenn Danzig, the lead singer, for a time, was like, he has such an uncommonly melodic voice for a punk singer. People have compared him to like Elvis or Jim Morrison. Like, he has a very good tone when he sings. It's not like some guy just belting into a microphone half the time. He's pretty great.
Yeah, it says here that he like can sing punk, heavy metal, industrial, blues, and classical music.
Yeah, no, he's a very good singer. That's why he's been working for so long. Misfits had another singer. His name was Michael Graves, and he was not bad for the most part. I mean, you can't replace Glenn, but like he's still a pretty solid guy. He has one of my favorite Misfits songs, "Dig Up Her Bones," but that's not on this album. For this, now they've only released like a handful of albums. I think about 7 or so. And the thing is that this album, I think, has the best consistency of all their greatest hits without being like a compilation album or anything. And each each song is more classic than the last. So if I was to say if you ever wanted to get into Misfits, I think Static Age would be a perfect like jump off point if you want to get into like how they are as a band.
So this is a good gateway album. Basically.
Good gateway album. Jumping off point, milestone, whichever. I think a lot of fans also really like their first album, Walk Among Us, but I prefer this one. And what's interesting about this album is
what is interesting, Lyle?
It was actually recorded in 1970. It was recorded in 1978. It took 2 months to record, but the album never saw the light of day. It wasn't released around that time, and the reason for this was because the band lacked funding. Just after they toured and just after they finished recording, 2 of their members just dropped out. It was the drummer and the guitarist. And so it was just Glenn Danzig and bassist Jerry only going, fuck, I don't know what kind of future we have with this band. Because this was supposed to be their debut album. And unfortunately, they just couldn't really afford it. And another thing is, trying to find a record label to distribute the album was, like, super unsuccessful. And given, like, the subject matter I was talking about earlier, I'm not all that surprised. Because they were trying to be edgy and, like, offensive. And at that time, it was...
So when did it get released?
It got released on a box set called the Misfits box set in 1996.
Whoa.
So, like
18 years later.
18 years later is when this album finally saw the light of day, which is probably why it's featured in mid-90s, because it came out around that time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
did before releasing it, did they, like, go back and, like, remaster it or fix it up or anything?
It's interesting you mention that, because while the songs weren't released in their entirety, a couple of them were, like, launched off into, like, other EPs and, like, short little gigs like that. And they'd always play a couple of them live. They had, like, a couple songs like We Are 138, or, like, Teenagers from Mars, or Some Kind of Hate. So, yeah, it's kind of... They weren't able to release the entire album right away, but they didn't just, like, keep it completely shelved. A couple other songs managed to get out there, and that's what fans liked. But it's just nice to have a compendium that has, like, all their really huge hits all together. So, yeah, definitely check it out if you feel like it. Or don't. Good. I don't know. All I know is you can never make an album like this today.
Okay.
What's a good song that I could just, like, throw on, do you think? I would get into.
The kind of song you could listen to with your parents, or let's see here. There's like a
like
Last Caress. Hell no, you don't listen to that with your parents. The song literally starts up, I got something to say. I killed a baby today, and it doesn't matter what I'm saying, as long as it's dead. Hybrid Moments. Yeah, that's definitely one of their stronger songs. I think Teenagers from Mars is a good song. We Are 138 is probably them at their most, like, raw. Like, it's literally like a 3-chord song, and then just bellowing We Are 138 throughout most of it.
Attitude.
Some Kind of Hate is a really pretty song, actually. I like that one. It's got, like, this, it almost sounds like a doo-wop song or something, but way more energetic. So I would go with TV Casualty, Some Kind of Hate, and Hybrid Moments. But if you want to get freaked out, listen to Bullet, because that one's got some cojones.
Okay.
But I think I've said enough today, right. So please.
You want to talk? So you said that was a very mainstream album.
It's not mainstream, but yeah, it's on the cusp because people know about Misfits.
Okay, so I'm probably gonna the album I picked put the following band I'm about to talk about on the map. How many of y'all have heard of the guys who did the soundtrack for Tron Legacy, Daft Punk?
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, that's not their claim to fame. In recent years, they got to the truly mainstream circuit when they collaborated with Pharrell Williams and other artists. But back before they got to that level, they made this album in 2001 called Discovery. And I loved Discovery right when I listened to this album right when I was starting to go to high school. And it actually contains my gateway song to Daft Punk, which was Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. I think it's probably one of their most famous songs of all time.
I would argue that.
Yeah, well, because
that was sampled in Kanye's Stronger.
Yes, that don't kill me. Can you make me stronger? I'm sorry for my mocking tone. I cannot stand Kanye West. I'm sorry. But anyway, so. I mean, some people think he's got some decent insights, but we're not talking about Kanye West. We're talking about Daft Punk. So, this album, not only does it have, Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, it's got some euphoric ass tunes. Like, it's got,
One More Time.
One more time we're gonna celebrate. Oh yeah, alright, I'll start dancing.
So what else do you like about this
album? You know what? It's a feel good album, like, quite honestly. And then I like how the first 3 songs are kind of tied together. Like, One More Time is kind of abruptly canceled out by Aerodynamic.
That's my favorite song.
Aerodynamic is kick-ass.
That guitar riff in the middle of it.
Yeah.
That's a good one,
yeah.
I like Face to Face. That's a good one.
Oh, that's but yeah, no, this was I tried to be as nostalgic as possible when I was thinking of albums to talk about, and I thought, I really love this album right when I was leaving elementary school and going to high school. So, but yeah, no, my Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, like, was my feel-good song for many years. Like,
that was like the anthem of, like, mid-2000s.
It really was.
Like the YouTube era.
Yeah. No, YouTubers used, whenever they would do, like, MMVs for big movies that were out, Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger is one of the most overused songs.
Do you remember that one video with the 2 girls with boxes on their head and they have the entire words written on their bodies and they dance together?
I do remember that. That was excellent.
Did you guys ever play this computer game back in high school? It was called Kitten Candy.
Yes, that's the instrumentals from Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger were the score of that game.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
Okay, if you ever went to addictinggames.com, like on a day in the computer lab when there was nothing to do, Like,
Okay.
the cool kid in class would go to addictinggames.com, and addictinggames.com was this, like, X-rated website where you can get where, like, the teachers, you had to kind of click onto a different browser to make sure the teachers weren't seeing you play any of the games, because some of the games are really explicit, but Addicting Kid Cannon was somewhat explicit. By the time our teachers didn't really care when we were in grade 8, so Kid Cannon is fucking funny. Like, the cool kid would play it, and it's basically
fucking funny.
No, seriously, I as a cat lover, like, I can just say it's hilarious. What you do is you aim the cannon at a certain trajectory, and then you fire, and then a kitten goes flying, and it lands on. The idea is to send the kitten flying as far as possible before it becomes a mangled, bloody mess.
It's very
Oh my god. So Evan.
No, but Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. No. Discovery is such a feel-good album, and it was released. I discovered it in 2005 or 6. It was released in 2001, a year after their Homework album, which had.
No, actually, you got it wrong. Homework was actually 97.
Oh right, was that their debut album, or did they have one before that?
That was actually and that's the thing I wanted to kind of bring up. I'm wondering if you've heard it, because this actually, I think Discovery definitely put them more on the map, but like Homework is a great debut album.
It really is.
I don't know if you've
heard it. Like,
I haven't heard it, but I have heard
Defunk Around the World.
No, I've heard Defunk. I've heard Around the World. It's really good, but I haven't heard the whole album. I just heard those two songs.
Defunk has a really great music video directed by Spike Jones.
Yeah, it's not even really a music video. It's more like a short film with the music in the background. It's interesting.
Yeah. It's a story about a guy who's like he has like a dog face, and like he's wearing like a mask, wearing a dog, like it's a dog.
I thought he was like a man-dog hybrid or something. I thought that was the intention.
And he's just getting like, discriminated, and like people that, like a girl that he knew back in high school doesn't recognize him anymore. Like it has a lot of themes in it that I thought was good.
Very.
But Defunk, oh yeah, man, that's a great song.
But anyways, so if I have to pick a favorite, Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, as cliche as it sounds, would be my favorite off Discovery. And I also like Superheroes, One More Time, and Digital Love. Digital Love is actually a really deep love song, and you don't even need to be like stoned or anything or drunk to understand how deep it is. When clubs open back up again in a post-COVID world, I think Digital Love should be played more often in clubs. And this is coming from a guy who fucking hates clubs.
Yeah. So Evan, I have a question.
Us is a good one too.
What's your what?
Have you ever watched the what's the word? The companion piece Interstellar 5555, the story of the secret star system?
I haven't. No.
It's an anime film that it basically uses the music from this album to tell the story.
So that's why a lot of the music videos that I've seen online
have anime
to them.
It's from this film, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
The One More Time music video very well.
Yeah.
It's like animated.
Yeah. So if you ever wonder what the connection is, that's the connection.
Cool.
It's very Toonami-esque, you could say. Alright. If that's all you have to say about Discovery, we've discovered it. We shall carry on with Cody.
Alright. My next one is, do you guys know the local band from here in Toronto, Metric?
Yes. Yes, I do.
So, nice Canadian indie band, Metric. I'm talking about their album Fantasies.
Okay.
It's a very special album for me for one simple reason. It was my introduction to indie music.
Yeah,
So when I was in high school, I was assigned to do this project. I'll just do this quick story. I was assigned to do this project by one of my teachers to put together like this it was some project for Earth Day. It was a very bad sketch that they wanted me to edit and put together, even though it was very poorly shot and all that. But he wanted me to use. He's like, "Here, Cody, I want you to use the music from this one album. It's called Fantasies by Metric." And I said, "Okay." I downloaded it. So I'm editing all this stuff together, and I started to think, "Wow, this is good music. This is really harkening back to like my love for bands like Garbage and No Doubt, just like very like cool rock bands that have like a female singing voice, really strong voice.
Yeah.
But there's also like a very modern flair to it as well, and it was just so shocking to know that they're Canadian as well. Like,
yeah, from Toronto.
Yeah, from Toronto. Yeah, so they recorded this album at both. Actually, they recorded half of it at the Electric Lady Studios in New York, but most of it was done at the Metalworks Studio in Mississauga, actually. But they're based in Toronto, and yeah, man, if you guys just want like a good, straightforward, just one after the other, good, solid rock song, this is the album for you. Like the most well-known song on this is "Help I'm Alive" and "Gimme Sympathy." But the ones I think my favorite one on it is kind of a deep cut. It's "Twilight Galaxy."
Okay.
And I became more in love with this song when I moved to Toronto about eight or so years ago, where there's just something about the vibe of living in Toronto and listening to this more kind of it's a little bit more not techno, but it's a little bit more electronic, but it's like very like kind of reminds me of music from the Drive soundtrack, if you've seen that.
Oh,
Yeah, College. Give a shout out to them. College did the music for soundtrack.
There's something kind of like I can just imagining Driver in that movie, like Ryan Gosling listening to that song, Twilight Galaxy.
I love Drive. It's a good movie.
Lyle, I would recommend the songs Satellite Mind and Gold Girls Guns.
I feel like I've heard of that song. I know
Gold Guns Girls. That's
I know Gimme Sympathy. It's like, who would you rather be? The Beatles or the Rolling Stones?
Beatles or the Rolling Stones.
That's a good question, guys. Who would you rather be? The Beatles or the Rolling Stones?
Yeah. I'm gonna say
Beatles, no doubt.
Beatles. Yeah.
I'd rather be Beatles.
Well, I mean, why would I was gonna say like cause no, never mind. Forget
Like,
it.
why are they always paired together?
Yeah.
Well, they were kind of like that lead of. They were kind of the head of the British invasion, both bands, and they're. And Rolling Stones has more longevity, but I think Beatles like really put really impacted the entire rock genre as a whole.
Yeah.
And for you, Evan, I would recommend "Gimme Sympathy" and the last track, "Stadium Love."
Yeah. I check it out.
Yeah, no, it's a solid album, but I wanted just to make it a good shout out here because like I don't think if it was for this album, I wouldn't have gotten into like stuff like Bon Iver. Like I mentioned last time.
Bon Iver, yes. I'm getting better at pronouncing his name.
Foals. And yeah, Bon Iver, yeah, there you go. Yeah, like stuff like Foals and The War on Drugs and TV on the Radio, like all this indie stuff that I now listen to, I kind of hold this album a little bit responsible for making me go, wow, there's way more things out there than what's just played on the radio, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because I got so sick of stuff because back where I'm from in Windsor, I just got so sick of everything getting shoved down my throat because of like, oh, the only good music that's out there is the only stuff that's played on the radio over and over and over again. It's like, no, I don't believe in that anymore.
That kind of ties into my next one, actually.
No, solid album.
So that's a good segue.
Yeah.
What's that?
So I just thought it was funny, Cody, because you're saying that good music can only be found on the radio, and my next pick is entirely internet-based, and it's called, it's kind of a long title, DC Snuff Film / Waste Yourself by Teen Suicide, 2015. So I know it's kind of a rough name. They also go by American Pleasure Club, but also dumpster. Like, they've never been able to find a solid name for themselves.
Wow.
I just call them Teen Suicide because it fits their sound better.
Oh, okay.
So it was initially basically what Teen Suicide was. It was this guy in Baltimore named Sam Ray, who just did a lot of his own recordings in his basement or on top of like the rooftop of his building, and he would just he didn't really care so much about the fidelity of his sound. He cared more about the emotion that came from his playing and the sounds he was able to get with such limited equipment. And yeah, he tried to form numerous bands with a lot of people, and I think they're still active. Yeah, they're still active, but they don't tour as much as they used to back in the day. I'd probably best define his sound as lo-fi, like emo mixed with lo-fi, maybe shoegaze. But with this album, what he did was he had 2 EPs, DC Snuff Film, as well as Waste Yourself. And since like they were in such high demand, he only released them physically, and he oversold them, and they ran out of stock. So instead, he just like combined the 2 albums, and since they are very short, I think they're 8 songs apiece, he just made it into a full album. So to call it a compilation album's a little dodgy, but either way, what I really like about this album is that it's very interestingly textured. It starts out with it has a lot of heavy-hitting songs, that are, like, drenched in distortion. And, like, you can tell, like, he's just screaming into the microphone. Drums are, like, wailing like nobody's business. A lot of their songs, like, it's very, very obviously indie. But the best part is, like, near the halfway point of the album, it really starts to decrescendo into, like, electronica and soft acoustic pieces that you could tell he did almost entirely by himself.
Yeah. And
I don't know, it's a really good album to jog to, I find. It's the one I listen to the most. And yeah, if I had to recommend my favorite song, and this is quite a title right here. It's the last track of the album. It's called "We Found 2 Dead Swans and Filled Their Bodies with Flowers." This lovely acoustic piece that he does entirely by himself, and it's very emotionally overwrought. If I was to recommend songs, Evan, I would probably recommend, this is a really good drunk song. It's called "Lonely Boy Goes to a Rave," since you just love clubs so much.
You know what? If I identify with the theme of the song, go by all means.
I don't know if you'll be able to hear the theme. The vocals are always blaring out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a very heavy song, and I like it. And Cody, for you, I could recommend more of the acoustic songs, like "Everything Is Going to Hell," or
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let me quickly look up the track list. I can't find a Wikipedia article, so let me just take a look. Yeah, there's a lot of nice acoustic pieces. There's also one called "Swimming," which is nothing.
Everything I like is going to hell, and everyone I like is living in hell. I got no use for friends, no connections. Give me what I want and leave me alone. Nice.
It's a very antisocial song, yes. Evan, you might also really like Benzo or Skate Witches. Cody, you might like a few of the earlier songs, like Bad News and Everything Is Fine. Yeah. Yeah, it's unlike my other album. It's not trying to be edgy for the sake of being edgy. It's a troubled soul who just wanted to put himself out there in the music industry and let his voice be heard. So.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that is DC Snuff Film "Waste Yourself."
Okay. I feel like this segues into my next pick because I've talked about a song. I've given you an album that I'm gonna love for the rest of my life, Led Zeppelin IV, and I gave you an album that I fell in love with when I was a kid transitioning into a teenager, Discovery. I want to talk about an album that strangely enough got me through a depressing time in my life when I was 18, and that is Mechanical Animals by Marilyn Manson. Now, when people look at me and the type of guy I am, they would never suspect me to be a fan, to listen to, let alone like any of Marilyn Manson's songs. But I gotta tell you, my stepdad, when I was, shortly after, like, I entered high school, my mom met my stepdad, and when my stepdad moved in, he owned a bunch of musical albums. His music collection moved in with us, and Mechanical Animals was there, so I kind of put it on one day, and Marilyn Manson was kind of this artist that I knew, like, you know, I might like him, but I already knew one song off that album because it was in The Matrix, Rock is Dead. It's not my favorite by any means. Rock is Dead is probably, like, the most mainstream album on that song, if you consider any of it mainstream. But strangely enough, like, my favorite album, my favorite song on the album, sorry, is I Don't Like the Drugs, But the Drugs Like Me. That's it's a killer tune. It almost sounds like the lyrics are depressing as hell and cynical as hell, but it comes close to sounding almost like a feel-good tune, because some of the songs on this album have very rocking, like, upbeat tunes that are all about, you know, feeling good, but the lyrics are not about feeling good at all. So
it says here that it's almost categorized as a glam rock song.
Yeah, that's really funny.
And it's inspired by drugs, television, and religion.
Well, when I was listening to this album in grade 12, like right before I was about to graduate high school, I kept feeling to myself, like, I was watching, you know, the popular kids and how they relate to everyone, and I was wanting to be kind of popular myself, and I did eventually kind of achieve some popularity my last year of high school. But while I was getting there, I was listening to this album, and it sounded a lot like, you know, there were a lot of songs that were all about being fake. A good example with it is New Model. New Model... New Model number 15. That's actually it's all about, you know, being fake. And another song that actually has a very upbeat rockin' tune to it is I Want to Disappear. The song is really disturbing when you listen to some of the lyrics. But you know, it kind of, I related to some of it. And I feel really bad that this guy got blamed for Columbine, man. Seriously. Like,
it's funny, I'm not really too familiar with Marilyn Manson other than the song The Beautiful People. That's really all I really know about him.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, like he is considered like one of the best, like, industrial rock rock artists of all time, and that's kind of weird because I guess I do consider myself a fan of industrial, because, like, I mean, I'll talk about it later on, but I have a 9 Inch Nails album coming up that I'll talk about.
Ooh.
But yeah, so I don't really know, like, much about him, and maybe I should. I think it's like, maybe back then I just wasn't too, like, drawn about his image.
Yeah.
I just thought it was just kind of weird, but maybe I can kind of get past that and just, you know.
I think that's how most people are.
Yeah.
Well, a couple other songs I would want to talk about are so you guys have recommended songs, like, to each other people. There's a song So for Lyle, I would actually kind of recommend Mechanical Animals. It's actually a pretty good tune.
Alrighty.
For Cody, I think I would recommend... that's a good question. Posthuman has a really, you know, powerful rocking beat. Posthuman is kind of like the song where he questions religion. It's really kind of... it almost sounds almost bonkers, but it's... yeah, it's pretty good.
Wait, what's the song called? Sorry.
The song's called Posthuman. Yeah.
Posthuman, okay.
Songs that... They're actually... Despite the fact that I love this album, there are actually songs that I can listen to, like, now and actually feel uncomfortable listening to them. I'm like, wow, I liked this when I was depressed. Like, the song Great Big White World is a song that makes my skin crawl, and the song User Friendly makes my skin crawl, too. So...
Manson for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I know it's designed to be that way, but I'm like, wow, I like this shit when I was feeling depressed.
I think the only song I know off this album is Rock is Dead.
I was telling Cody...
that's just because I watched a lot of The Matrix when I was younger.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Is that the one that goes like...
It's like... I'm sick of monkeys, alienations, amphetamines from boys, and crucifixes from ladies.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I do know that song, actually. Wow. That played it as a theme song for one of the fake David Blaine sketches that were on YouTube, like, years ago. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It's also got one of my favorite lyrics, you sex and you dough, it's all about fair, so fuck all your protests and put them to bed. Got us in the TV. Rock it Alright, that's all I really have to say. Just Mechanical Animals. It's a powerful song. It's a powerful album, sorry.
Very good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can dig it.
Yeah. Alright, you know what? Just to carry out with the theme of industrial, let's get into it. My album is 9 Inch Nails' is The Downward Spiral.
Okay.
The feel-good album of the night. No, I'm joking.
Oh.
So here's a shocking thing I don't know if you guys know about. I've known it for years, but do you guys know where this album was recorded?
No.
Do you know what?
I'm looking at it.
Benedict
Canyon.
I'm just gonna say the address. I mean, some of these this address people might know, but you'll know it once you know like the nickname of it. So, do you know 150 Silo Drive in Benedict Canyon, California?
Oh shit, that's where Sharon Tate got killed.
Wow.
Yes, the Tate House.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
this album was recorded in the house where the Manson murders happened.
Oh.
And to Trent Reznor's actually admission, he said like while he was recording it, he can actually like hear occasional like haunting sounds. And when you listen to the album, it reflects that because this album is very dark, very haunting, and fuck is it beyond fascinating. Like it's not an album that I personally like relate to. Like I don't consider myself like I don't relate to the dark themes because I'm not really a dark person, but I'm like very fascinated by dark themes and darker themes and just hearing sounds that I've never heard before. Like there's some like amazing electronic work in this album, like amazing, where I'm like, how did he achieve this sound? I don't know what I'm hearing, but I'm so caught into it. And it's just, honestly, this is like my venting album. If I have like just a very bad day, I just want to just take out my rage, I'll throw on this album and just like, it's because it's just so fast and so aggressive. I just want to like swing my fists around and just yell, fuck, like, just to get it all out of my system.
It was a good angry album. You got songs like March of the Pigs and Closer, and like, holy shit.
Well, okay, March of the Pigs is like definitely the gateway song that I would just, like, if people have never heard of 9 Inch Nails, I would just like listen to this quick, solid song and you'll get, you know, a dose of the genius that is Trent Reznor. He would later on, you know, do collaborations with David Fincher and a lot of his scores for his movies.
Mm-hmm.
But for this album, like, apparently it's described as like it's supposed to be the protagonist, and he's like descending into like dealing with like all the problems that he finds with the world, like such as religion, dehumanization, violence, disease, society, suicide, sex, drugs, like self-abuse, you name it. It's just, it dives so much into everything. But my favorite song, it's a cliche, but I have to say it. It's definitely Closer.
Yes. That's
Closer fine. With the lyrics, I wanna fuck you like an animal.
Wow.
If you want to see a music video that will later on be in your nightmares, look up the uncut version of the music video for Closer.
Wow.
Where, you have a monkey getting crucified.
You know, like you do. You know, it's funny, like Evan mentioned in his last album that Marilyn Manson got a lot of heat after the Columbine shootings. This album got some heat as well. Dylan
Oh, is
Klebold.
that right?
Dylan Klebold, one of the perpetrators, referenced the lyrics from several songs in the album in his journal, and he identified with the protagonist of the album as a symbol of his own depression.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of connections there.
But I noted, you know, like March of the Pigs. Well, this album starts off so just right away aggressive with Mr. Self-Destruct, leading all the way to the very like sad and somber song of Hurt that most people know for Johnny Cash's cover.
Yeah, it's a good cover, honestly.
It is a good cover. I mean, there's definitely a lot of meaning in it because like that was around the time he actually was dying.
Yeah.
But Hurt, I only heard Nine Inch Nails' Hurt at the very ending of season 2 of Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty. I was just about to say that.
Yeah, that's
Where
the only
Rick
thing
gets
I'm aware
arrested.
of. So I know Lyle's definitely more familiar with this album, but Evan, next time you're smoking a bowl, you gotta listen to the song "A Warm Place," and you're gonna think, "Oh, this is actually a nice, you know, like song. There's a nice current to it. It's very nice." And then it's gonna lead into the next track, "Eraser," and yeah, you're gonna shit your pants.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say that. You are gonna shit your pants. You're gonna be hearing sounds that are gonna just literally creep you the fuck out in this song. And it's gonna just surprise you, and it's gonna feel like your eardrums are blowing off once the drum kicks in. And it's just like you're really gonna be on the edge of your seat listening to this. Yeah, no, there's not much to say about it. I find it you know what I look at this album as? I look at it as someone who's into pop music trying to break free out of all the world's bullshit.
Kind of
Like the weight of the world is just completely clombered on top of Trent Reznor, and he's just trying to break out with melody and emotion. That's kind of my interpretation on it. Yeah, I know many people won't like agree with that, but I don't know. I fucking love this album from beginning to end. And one more. Oh wait, sorry to interrupt. One thing you guys gotta look up. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. Is you gotta look at Nine Inch Nails' performance at the Woodstock of 1994.
Okay.
All right.
Fucking showstopper. They kill it. Absolutely destroyed the stage, and just literally and figuratively.
Oh,
like,
God.
I'm not kidding. It's one of the best performances I've ever seen.
Okay, duly noted.
Just hearing them say perform closer, just
I heard that concert was a mess too.
Oh, they were all full of mud and just fucking. Oh, it was great. Love it. Trent Reznor, you're a genius. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, keep being a composer for a lot of our favorite movies.
Yes.
You're pretty sweet at that.
And sorry to interrupt one more time.
Okay.
It's weird that he's been around in Fincher's life a little bit longer than most people think, because until he started composing for stuff like Social Network later on, the opening credits for Seven is a remix of Closer.
Oh yeah, okay, because it ends with "Closer to God." Yeah.
Yeah, it's a remix.
So is that all you have to say about that?
Yeah, sorry. Just fun facts. Just fun facts though thrown out there.
No, it's good. I'm glad you like it. So the next album I'll get underway is one you, Cody, can help me talk about, because I don't have a whole lot of new things to add to it. It's considered one of the greatest albums of all time. And all in all, we're all just another brick in the wall.
Oh.
Yes,
The Wall
baby.
by Pink Floyd.
Why do I feel like
Oh my god.
we're all gonna go on a tangent with this album for an hour?
That's good, because I need help. I can't cover it all by myself.
Oh,
An album that touches on
here we go.
themes of war, fascism, isolation, institutionalization, and unfulfillment.
You remember the time? Speaking of which, by the way, as of this episode, Trump is no longer in office. But when he was, do you remember when Lyle and I actually came up with a parody of Another Brick in the Wall Part 2. They don't want no immigration. They don't want no gun control. No dog sarcasm in the newsroom. Donald, leave them kids alone. Hey, Donald, leave them kids alone. Do you know funny story?
Pretty good. Actually.
Remember in our 90s episode when we talked about Recess and we brought up Recess School's Out? Recess School's Out, the movie, has a kick-ass soundtrack of, like, oldies tunes, and when Miss Pfister busts into the room to save the day, she says, "Hey, teacher, leave them kids alone!" And I didn't get the reference when I saw that movie, but yeah, you did, but then I listened to the album years later, I'm like, oh my god, Recess referenced The Wall.
Yeah.
That's funny.
No, me and my mother used to listen to this song quite a lot back in the day. In fact, actually... Cody, I don't know if you got the experience, but I actually got to see this album live with Roger Waters.
Wow.
I hate you. I actually hate you.
My God. And it was so shitty, though, getting there, because I got, like... I used to have really bad headaches when I was in high school, because I wasn't wearing glasses at the time, so my eyesight would really start to give my... I used to get a lot of really bad migraines and fevers. And the worst part is like, just before we headed out, I got a migraine. So the whole time I'm going to see this concert, I'm getting sick. I'm throwing up. Anything I put in my body, I immediately reject it. And I was like sick as a dog before the concert. I thought I was before the concert, not concept. I thought I was gonna die. But then as soon as I went to the concert, which was in the U.S., thankfully, and thankfully for U.S. shows, you're not obligated to stand when the performance begins. I noticed when you're in a Canadian concert, everyone just stands in appreciation, and everyone's, like, dancing and stuff. And you have to stand there for an hour. But I didn't feel like doing that at that time, so thank you, U.S., for not standing in front of me during this epic show with, like, a 40-foot-tall teacher puppet dancing in front of us.
I feel like a lot of Canadian concert venues are designed to have the audience just fucking stand for...
Well, yeah, sure, if it's like a small venue, but like with large stadiums, people still stand, and you could sit, but you can't, because everyone's standing, so you gotta stand.
Who here has been to Sound Academy?
I don't know. Anyway, so... One thing I really appreciate about this album is like each song transitions seamlessly to the next one, and it almost plays out like a 3-act structure between like each record. I was actually listening to YouTube the other day, and I would always be like, "Oh, the song's ending," hard cut, gets to the next song, or an ad would interrupt. I'd be like, "Damn you YouTube! I'm trying to get into this album, but you take me out of it each and every time." I really like I really like Roger Waters, to be honest. Like, even though I know he had some difficulties working with the group and he had a bit of an ego to him, I do really like how...
Do you know his experience, what caused him to come up with the concept of the wall?
Didn't he come up with didn't he have like a nightmare or something?
No, so what happened was near the end of the tour of their last album, Animals, it was on the In the Flesh tour, which is kind of weird because In the Flesh would later on be 2 tracks.
Yeah, 2 tracks
on the album.
Well, it's In the Flesh and In the Flesh question mark.
In the Flesh question mark is first.
And then In the Flesh.
Yeah.
They were performing for at a stadium where it was like 50,000 people, and the band was so used to doing like 20,000. That's actually what they prefer to do. Like, they just want people to come in and relax and just enjoy the music and just play at a very minimal attendance. But the problem was that this one concert that they were doing, which was the very end of their tour, their very last show, they decided the manager, all that, just propped them up to a 50,000 attendance, and it took hours just to get everyone into the stadium. That by the time they actually would perform, everybody's already loaded on drugs, alcohol, and it just becomes a fucking mess because so many people are impatient. And Roger Waters, who was always described as being a more like just a smart, poetic, and very humble, and just like, you know, doesn't like lash out on people, he had a very off night with the audience because completely just trying to trash the audience because he felt like they were trashing him. It got so heated that he actually spat on one of the audience members.
Damn.
This was like pre-Justin Bieber.
After that, he said literally, I just feel like I want to build a wall to separate myself from the audience. And then, Lord and behold, that was the concept of the wall.
Well, yeah, because a lot of the material in the album is based solely on his personal experiences from his childhood and going up to being like an actual rock star.
And his father going off to war, like it's and just how he felt so pampered by his mother growing up. And, like,
hence the song "Mother."
The abuse of his school teacher, like it's all there.
And his descent into madness, which is more about his bandmate Syd Barrett than himself. But
yeah, it's funny. And Syd Barrett, when they saw him years later after he like descended into just nothing,
insanity.
He shaved his eyebrows and he was like shaving his head and he was completely unrecognizable. And then when they made The Wall the movie, the character of Pink also shaved his eyebrows off.
Yeah.
So a bit of a reference there.
Yeah. Speaking of the film adaptation, directed by Alan Parker, I actually very much like that adaptation of the album. It's like I can't imagine it was easy to like make a visual medium for an album.
Yeah.
But he does it.
It's definitely effective to bring the album to life.
Yeah.
And understanding like what it's about. Like in case you're not like, because I'm not really a lyric kind of person. Like I can't listen to a song and go, oh, that's what it means. And I don't listen. I look at lyrics as that it's not about what you're saying. It's how it sounds when you're singing it.
Like the experience.
That's my motto. It's not about what you're singing. It's how it sounds when you're singing it, because it's an instrument. But when you understand what Roger Waters was going for, it's very powerful stuff. Like it's a very angry album, but it's also it has a lot of redemption in the end. You know, like it's.
Well, after a really climactic second final track, penultimate track with the trial. I love that song.
Yeah.
He sings in like four different voices.
What's that character's name from Hunchback, who's like the street performer?
The gypsy.
The guy with the mask and the sombrero kind of looking thing.
Yeah, I always pictured him when I listened to The Trial.
Wow. Oh yeah, I could see him doing all the voices and acting it out with puppets. That'd be great.
Yeah, because it's a very like attraction circus kind of theme, and it's very like what's your favorite track off of this album?
My favorite track, I mean, I don't want to sound cliche, but Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 is probably like the highest point of the album, like just like in terms of radio play and everything. It's the most well known. I also really like Run Like Hell because it reminds me a lot of like, I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, The Warriors. It always reminds me of that. Yeah,
I love Run Like Hell.
That's a good one. Young Lust is a good rock song.
Young Lust is great.
Pretty strong. Comfortably Numb is strangely meditative. I actually really like that song.
It really is.
Same with Hey You.
Comfortably Numb is one of the greatest songs ever made.
I would agree with you.
One of them, that has a guitar solo that literally takes my breath away, and I'm not just exaggerating.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing. It literally gives me goosebumps, and I feel transcended when I listen to that.
Well, that's what's so great about this album is that you need to listen to it from the beginning to the end because every song builds on the other.
Yeah.
I haven't encountered too many albums that do that. My last one does, but like I find it great. It tells an entire story. It's practically a rock opera, I believe.
And, like honestly, like we'd have to do like a Pink Floyd podcast because like I can talk about
for sure.
I can talk about everything from Metal to The Wall all day long.
Yeah,
because that's like those are the best of Pink Floyd.
Yeah, I should listen to a lot more Pink Floyd, but out of all of them, I think The Wall is the one I've listened to the most amount of times throughout my life. So.
And that is my second favorite album of all time.
Oh
wow.
Yeah, man,
we'll get to my number one on my last round.
It's such a great album. Wouldn't it just be the worst if some internet celebrity made a parody of it?
But Lyle, didn't that already happen?
Doug Walker's The Wall.
So I this episode isn't about the Nostalgia Critic. We're going to have to do a whole episode on Channel Awesome eventually.
Yeah, we should.
But the thing is, our friend Vince told us that in the episode, he brings one of the band members from Pink Floyd into that episode.
Not Pink Floyd. I think it was a metal guy.
It was Corey Taylor.
Corey Taylor.
And
yeah, from Slipknot. Yeah,
Slipknot.
Stone Sour.
I keep getting him confused with Slayer, but yeah, Slipknot. It was the guy from
gets
Slipknot.
a guy from Slipknot, and he has the guy play the fucking theme song from SpongeBob.
At the end, yeah. No,
it's a joke. It's a joke, and it's not even funny.
Yeah.
That's the whole review. It's a joke and it's not even funny. It's over long. It doesn't have a lot of criticism for the movie that isn't just like, oh, it's too long, or oh, it's Oscar baity, or it's just like, I'll be honest, I haven't even watched the review because it ticks me off too much knowing that he went that far.
I've seen it. The first time I saw it, I just kind of chalked it off like, I get what you're doing, but it's just doesn't quite work, but I've grown to hate it, actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
just because I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, what are you trying to say with this? What's the parody?
Well, Doug Walker has kind of come off as super, super pretentious. Even before that review, I thought he was just, kind of pretentious.
It's like, he thinks, and I think he said this once, his greatest achievement was the Moulin Rouge parody, which I watched because that was around the time I was watching his stuff. He thinks that was the highest peak of his existence as a nostalgia critic. And he keeps trying to do something up to that scale, but I don't think he ever really achieves it. He did one for the Les Miserables, and then he's trying to do one with this, and yeah.
He also did, when he reviewed Ron Howard's The Grinch, he did that all in rhyme. But let's not make this about Doug Walker. Let's just kind of...
I'm just saying, like, I wanted to bring it up because, like, yeah, he got a lot of heat for trying to make a parody album of The Wall. And,
it's like his worst review of all time.
Worst reviewed review.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, hey, I wish I had that much time on my hands to do money, resources, people who want to work with me to make a parody album of one of the best albums of all time. A little bit unnecessary, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's your life.
I would love to see The Wall as a stage opera performance.
Oh yeah, like kind of like We Will Rock You with Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would kick ass.
That honestly would. I think they should. I think there's talks that they want to do that. The next best thing is to see Roger Waters live, but that kind of came and went. Yeah, so that's all I got. All in all, that's all I have to say about The Wall.
All in all, and just another brick on the wall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was a good bookend. We bookended this review with 2 bricks. How appropriately.
So, the next album, you want to talk about folk music. Have I got something for you? Well, I mean, like, we mentioned folkish stuff earlier, like with Peter Gabriel.
Oh, okay, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, folk album, huh?
Okay. So, there's a band I discovered on my 18th birthday called Fleet Foxes. I discovered it at Hard Rock Cafe. Oddly enough, because that's where I went to dinner with my family back then. So, I got really into their stuff. I loved their Sun Giant EP. I loved their title album that was released in 2008. And the album Helplessness Blues came out in the last 2 months that I was in high school, but I listened to it for the first time when I was just starting film school. And I gotta be honest, it starts off like the character or whoever is singing about like the journey that he's on and all the songs. It honestly feels like, he went through some hardship and is now starting a new adventure. I mean, and there are some happy songs like songs about learning from mistakes, and the end actually is the last song is one of my favorite songs on the whole album. It's called Grown Ocean. It's a really good album. And my favorite song by far is either it's a tie between this song called Bedouin Dress and The Plains / Bitter Dancer. They're very, very good tunes. Now, I feel like I'm talking to you guys about this. You guys have never heard of this album before. Well, Cody, have you heard of this album?
Well, no,
I sure as hell haven't.
I'm familiar with Fleet Fox's debut album. I've heard that before, and I enjoyed it, actually.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
But I haven't heard of Helplessness Blues, but I'm sold. Maybe this might be a gem. I'm gonna listen to this soon, actually.
It's really good.
These guys kind of give me an Arcade Fire flavor.
They sound Arcade Fire sounds like very techno pop. Fleet Foxes sound
not their early stuff.
Arcade Fire with their recent album, Everything Now, is way more electronic and kind of like, it almost feels like a parody of pop music. But Arcade Fire is mainly known for like kind of like world beat,
chamber rock,
like very very Canadian rock, like straightforward.
Yeah,
rock,
their early stuff was very very well written. I wouldn't say I wouldn't boil it down.
You gotta listen to The Suburbs.
Oh, The Suburbs is good.
The Suburbs is a good album.
The Neighborhoods series is great.
Oh, Neighborhoods, yes, it's so good. Oh.
But anyways,
4 of them.
Yeah. So in terms of songs, I would recommend to you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what songs would you recommend? Yeah, I'll check them out.
Yeah. Give me one sec. Let me just look up the album.
I got it right here.
Okay, cool. I would for Cody. I feel like the Shrine and Argument / an Argument is actually a song Cody would really dig. And for Lyle, I would just recommend. That's a good question. The title, the album song, "Helplessness Blues," I would actually really recommend. They're good. They're good songs.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. The Shrine, the Argument says here it's 8 minutes long. So
yeah.
I love lengthy songs are always my jam.
Oh yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because sometimes if a song is so good, I'm like, oh, why end? Keep it going. Jam out.
Yeah. No. It's. Yeah. This song, cause I kind of left high school on a bit of a bitter note, but this album this album didn't make me feel better about it, but what this album did was it said, yes, you ended on a bitter note, that's how life goes sometimes, and there's better stuff to look forward to in the future, and that's the way this album makes me feel.
Okay.
Especially if you listen to all...
It's always great. Sorry, go ahead.
It's all like the whole. If you listen to all the songs in sequence, you'll kind of get the emotion I'm talking about. Because it feels like whoever the character is in the album, he's just going from like situation to situation, and it's all like some of them are really hard, some of them are really nice, but the ending will make you feel like there really is good stuff to look forward to. Yeah.
Nice.
I was gonna say it's always great when you can like harken back to like a period of time in your life where you're like, that was the time I was listening to this album over and over and over again for those 4 months or even a year.
Yeah.
You can always just be reminded by those times and the mood that you're in. And,
my next album is
even the album itself kind of like inspiring you in certain ways.
Yeah.
My next album is definitely that. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so Helplessness Blues.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to listen to that soon. That's on my recommended because I love my indie rock. I gotta keep it going.
Do it and let me know. I want to hear your thoughts.
For sure.
Yeah. It's your. Yeah, I guess we're moving on.
Yeah. All right. So continuing my eclectic taste in music, as you guys have been noticing tonight. My next album is Massive Attack's Blue Lines.
Yeah, I was listening to this last night, and I was very surprised. It didn't strike me as something you would listen to, but it was pretty good.
No. And that's why it's up here, because I was never really familiar with what the term trip hop was, and I obviously listen to I listen to occasional hip hop. Like I mainly like obviously the 90s kind of stuff, like old school 90s hip hop is always fun to listen to. But when I looked up what like trip hop was, apparently it's just a very like down tempoed sound that's just trying to combine genres like funk, rap, soul, R&B, and mostly electronic altogether.
Mm-hmm.
But with Massive Attack, it's funny. This isn't the first time I listened to Massive Attack. It was actually their third album, Mezzanine, which has the songs you guys have probably heard of if you watched the show House. The song Teardrop is the theme song for House.
Okay.
And the song Angel is from, I think, Snatch, if you guys have seen that.
Oh, yeah, and the middle part where, like, the house gets burnt. His mom dies in a RV fire.
And that's right.
And, they almost get clubbed to death by goons, yeah. That was in the Watchmen trailer, too.
Oh, yeah? Alright, yeah.
Which one, sorry?
Watchmen has a trailer that has that song in it.
The second trailer.
There's a dozen trailers.
There you go, yeah.
Smashing Pumpkins one is better.
But it wasn't until Blue Lines that something about this album clicked to me, where I'm not kidding, every track on this album is fucking gold. Like, it's so good. It was very hard to try to choose a favorite. So it was recorded. It was kind of recorded. The funny story of how this album was recorded. It was recorded around several different studios in England. It went from like Abbey Road to Cherry Bear to Hot Nights. Like, it bounced all over the place. And the length of it was like almost a year. I don't know why. I didn't really see any like reasons why they bounced around a lot, but like my favorite song, this is very tough, and I actually didn't write it down because honestly, okay, I'll just jump to this. A song that I know I think you guys will really like is Lately.
Lately, huh?
Lately
is a very badass song with like a cool beat to it, and every time I listen to it, I think if you just replace like the music for Little Green Bag, the opening for Reservoir Dogs, if you just replace that song with that, it still is as badass and as effective.
Oh yeah. That's
I think one of these
good
days,
to know.
all three of us, like once it's safe, we should all get together and just walk in slow motion and just listen to this song, because I think it'll feel pretty badass.
Cool.
So Lately, you gotta listen to that one.
That's a bold statement.
I think One Love would be a song I'd recommend to Evan. And for you, Lyle,
One Love, not to be confused with the U2 One Love, which is everywhere.
Yeah, I was thinking of that one too. What's one song for me, Cody?
One, yeah, because I just, when I hear that song by U2, it's like, one love, one life, carry each other.
Yeah, okay. So what's the song, Cody?
I would maybe go with, actually, I'd probably go with I would go with Blue Lines, like the title, like the track that's as similar as the album. But I don't know if that's why I'm kind of struggling here, because I don't know if this music is like your guys' taste, but like I would just try to give it at least a shot. But to continue what you said about you were shocked about this is like my type of genre. I think I have a favorite now. As I'm talking about this, I would go with 5 Man Army, because that's a full-on like almost rap song, and I don't really listen to that much rap, but like there's something about the beat and the rhythm to this that I can follow, and it's very like low tempoed and very like I think it goes between like several different rappers within the song, and I don't know, it's hard for me not to like head bop to this song and like tap my feet.
Oh.
I love it. I think it clicked with me, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a good album. I was listening to it last night.
Okay. So
gotta listen to Lately. That's
I was listening to a little bit of it as you were talking, and
so,
I definitely got a Reservoir Dogs vibe from it.
So just so we're clarifying, are all the albums we're about to talk about, the last 4 albums we're all going to talk about, are they all from the 90s? Because Lyle's is mine.
I'm not. I don't think we're done. I mean, I gotta do mine, and then we're gonna go. My last 2 are from the 90s.
Oh, then my last one's from the 90s, and Cody, is your last one from the 90s?
Same year too, actually.
Well, Massive Attack's Blue Lines is from '91.
Mine's from '91.
What's
yeah, oh yeah, well, yeah, my last one's 91 as well.
Oh,
holy shit! My last two are 91. His is 91. His last two are 91.
Mine's 99.
What the hell?
The
1991.
Downward Spiral was 94. Nine
Uh-oh.
Inch Nails' Downward Spiral was 94. Yeah, wow, back in the 90s, baby.
Okay, we're going back to. We're gonna close this show out with 90s albums.
That's crazy.
Here we
And
go.
what a way to
Alright.
start this with none other than Nevermind by Nirvana.
Oh,
Probably the biggest album of its time, and it still holds up. So, I know a lot of I find Nirvana fans are probably gonna like be like, oh, way to pick the most overrated album of the bunch or the most overplayed, and I can't deny it is pretty like it's got a lot of radio attention. It's played almost all the time, but I gotta say like Nevermind is still my favorite album of Nirvana. I don't mind In Utero. I think In Utero has a lot of technically better songs. But on top, well, it does have like I love like Heart Shaped Box. It's probably one of my favorite Nirvana songs. But I find a lot of the songs in that album.
Senseless Apprentice is my favorite off of that.
That's not a bad one. The thing I find is like a lot of the songs on that album are just made intentionally bad to kind of steer away the audience that Nevermind generated. And with that in mind, it's like I don't like everything on that album, and maybe that was the point. And Bleach is fine for a debut, but I think Nevermind's stronger. So,
Yeah, Bleach is like, I mean, it's definitely very more garage band than anything.
oh yeah, some starting out.
It's, yeah, it's a good way to start off, actually.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not a bad album by any means. I like how everyone's picking on me for bass lines. I actually find a lot of the best bass lines from Nirvana are from this album. Like Lounge Act literally starts with this really groovy one. It's like,
Yeah.
and then Stay Away is actually pretty underrated too. It's like after every chorus, like bling ding 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 bling ding 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 ding.
Monkey City, Monkey Down.
Yeah. I think I like virtually every single track in this album. I can listen from
Oh,
start
don't
to
forget
finish.
Lithium. Don't forget Lithium's
Is that a bass line or just a guitar riff with a bass line attached to it?
I think it sounds bass.
There is bass, but Kurt does play along. There is one section where no one plays but bass and drum. I don't know if I can necessarily call it a bass run because like it is just the guitar line but on bass. But
Well,
yeah,
I mean, you're also talking about an album that has a song that is literally the 1990s anthem.
yes, I will talk about it in a second. But the one, actually, I might as well talk about it now. Smells Like Teen Spirit, literally one of the best songs ever written. It's kind of funny. I actually looked at a list that said the top 10 rock songs of all time, and most of them were from the 50s. There were a couple ones I recognized from the 60s. But the most recent one was this song, and it came out in 1991. It's not that recent. It's like almost 30 years old. Well, it is 30 years old now.
Revolutionary sound, like that riff, that energy, that just. Yeah.
And the best part is, Kurt Cobain wasn't even really giving it his all. He just happened by accident. He was trying to rip off pop music and just say, "Oh, I'll just play a couple chords."
Yeah, and that's he grew to hate it after its popularity.
I don't doubt it. I mean, a lot of bands hate the songs that become like massively popular overnight. Because it's like, well, we didn't really put all our best thought towards it, and it just turns out that everyone likes it. And now we gotta play it every time we do a show, whether we like it or not. And I can't really think of what the themes of this album are because, talking about Kurt Cobain, as a songwriter, he never really focused on lyrics. He's way more of a riff guy, and I'm very much the same way. I don't think of lyrics on the spot. And what he did was, even before he was recording, like, he would often just, like, come up with stuff on the fly, with a stream of consciousness kind of thing. Like, apparently, like, Dave Grohl stated, like, some of the songs he was recording, like, he just came up with minutes before they started pressing the button. And that's kind of
sad. It's kind of sad to note that, like, the first lyrics of Smells Like Teen Spirit is load up on guns, and then he talks about it in Bloom. He's the one who likes all these pretty songs, likes to shoot his gun.
I think the saddest one is Come As You Are, though.
And Come As You Are, and I swear that I don't have a gun.
No, I don't have a gun.
Oddly enough, "Come As You Are" is my favorite song. "Come As You Are" is my favorite song off that album.
I always like Polly.
I'm gonna have to go with my favorite, In Bloom, because I have a very special connection with In Bloom because you mentioned before that I play acoustic guitar, so every time that I try to tune my guitar just by ear, how I tune the first my E chord, the very first or not chord, sorry, string, the very first string that I do, I always try to match it with the very beginning of In Bloom. So do 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 do. So it goes 6 6 3 1 4. And that's how I know my first string is good. Then I just go from there.
Very nice, very nice. I think if I had to pick a favorite, I would probably have to go with Lithium. I do like Smells Like Teen Spirit, but like I've kind of grown to like Lithium more, just because I like some of the lyrical content about a guy who just kind of changes his outlook on life and becomes something more spiritual.
So horny.
That's okay, my will is good. Yeah.
I thought for years I always thought he said my willy's good.
My will is good.
Yeah.
No, like he says I'm so horny. That's okay. My willy is good.
Yeah.
Well, hey, there you go. Your problem's almost solved.
Yeah.
Talk about self-promotion.
I have a rock band to thank.
Yes.
For making me fall in love with Drain You.
Oh yeah, that's a good song too.
Because the part where like it's like that like I can picture like the lights going out and it's just like dun 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 dun.
Well, that fucking solo in the middle of the song is so insane. Like it's literally just build up and eerie sounds. And
Insane. Yeah.
you know it's a really understated track that
Can we just talk about how Dave Grohl? Like I know Dave Grohl went on to be
the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, sorry, what?
Yeah, Dave Grohl went on to join the Foo Fighters and create the Foo Fighters. But what about him?
Well, no, I was just gonna say, like, like not only is he like a great frontman and like distinct singer and like guitar player for Foo Fighters, but like he's a kick-ass drummer.
Oh yeah, he's always been good on drums. It's
like,
funny.
Have you guys heard of them Crooked Vultures?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was and that's a collaboration between. That's collaboration between John Paul Jones. Is it Jimmy Page or John Paul Jones?
John Paul Jones.
John Paul Jones,
yeah.
bassist, Led Zeppelin, Queens of the Stone Age, and
Foo Fighters. Yeah.
Yeah,
He also,
it's
it's funny,
That's a
Dave
great
Grohl
name.
was also the drummer of Queens of the Stone Age for a time too, very briefly.
He was the drummer on my favorite Queens of the Stone Age song.
No One Knows.
No One Knows. I love that song.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Can I just say, here's what Nevermind means to me. It was one of the biggest songs. Sorry, why do I keep singing? Okay, I gotta
keep saying songs, albums.
I can't talk tonight. So here's the thing. Here's the reality. I grew up not being attached to albums. I grew up with listening to individual songs, and my parents introduced my brother and I to compilations of past artists, as I mentioned this earlier in the episode. So whenever I think of music, I think my favorite song rather than my favorite album. Because you guys think in terms of albums like they're movies, and I do agree that albums were like movies. I did work at HMV for about 2 years, so I do feel you on that. But that's why I'm getting the words album and song mixed up. My favorite... Nevermind was one of the biggest albums of mainstream media has a lot to do with that too, but one of my biggest most well-known songs from the 90s was Smells Like Teen Spirit. And then I have two really good friends who grew up in East York, and they were huge Nirvana fans. They actually introduced me to Weird Al Yankovic's "Smells Like Nirvana"
That's
parody.
probably my favorite parody of his.
That's an amazing parody.
Yeah.
Now in the video, holy shit.
Yeah, and the effort, the shot-for-shot remake of the "Smells Like Teen Spirit" song is so like masterfully done. Sometimes Weird Al Yankovic will try to duplicate a music video and then unintentionally one-up the original artist of the song. That's what I love about him. But anyway, so back to Nirvana. I knew the only songs I knew before I actually listened to this album in full were Smells Like Teen Spirit, obviously, In Bloom because I played Rock Band, and Territorial Pissings because I watched the movie Beautiful Boy with Steve Carell, and in this one scene where he goes to pick up his son who is like coming down from a really powerful heroin high, the song Territorial Pissing is blasting on the car radio while it's like raining and shit.
It's not a very radio friendly
Come
song.
on, people now.
Smile on your brother, everybody get together and try to love one another right now.
But anyways, so
that's Chris.
I listened to. I felt I kind of like really grew to love this album like when I was moving out of my parents for the first time and in with this guy over here because basically
no, I'm a Nirvana head for
sure. So the songs Come As You Are and Lithium and In Bloom actually kind of identified with the feeling of like having my own place in Toronto. Because I moved from the suburbs to Toronto, and it felt like such a good thing. And it was spring, and the grass was starting to get green, so In Bloom, I really feel that. Come As You Are, like, I kind of felt like every time I entered this house, I was coming, this apartment, I was coming as I was. And I thought that was...
I'm sure people in Generation Z are going, oh, my introduction to Nirvana is when they played Come As You Are and Captain Marvel.
Basically.
God damn it.
Well, that's the thing about Nirvana.
No, you mean Gen Z. You mean Gen Z.
You damn kids.
You mean Gen Z.
Yeah.
Because Gen X...
I'm like, get out
he said Gen Z.
Oh, he did? Oh, yeah.
Gen X is this generation with Nirvana.
But anyways, so...
Yeah, I find a lot of kids...
Did I say X? Sorry, I meant to say Z.
You did say...
I thought you said Z.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm deaf. Too much. I was listening too much of this album, I guess.
But anyways, so...
what I find about this album is, like, the themes are hard to identify, but the way I feel about it is that it's just so angst-ridden and antisocial. And I feel like that's why I listened to it so much when I was in high school. I just loved listening to it, like, almost every single day. And I remember one time I was in a car ride with a bandmate of mine and his dad, and we started cranking Smells Like Teen Spirit. And the guy was just like, they're just a bunch of clowns who can't sing.
What?
Oh, God.
Well, he was in an a cappella group, so I guess he felt he had some credence. Yeah, but hey, this album was huge. It paved the way for the Seattle sound and made grunge mainstream. And that's half the reason why I really want to go to Seattle someday and just see that place.
I was in Seattle for 10 minutes on a connecting flight. And at least the only thing I can say that I walked away from is that I purchased a coffee at the airport.
I want to purchase a coffee in Seattle. I hear they got good coffee there.
In time.
I mean, Nirvana's technically not a Seattle band. They're from Aberdeen, Washington, but like, I'd go there too just to visit it. They got like
man, well, it's all semantics about the term grunge because I mean, we're gonna get into that when I talk about my favorite album, but we'll go with Evan first.
Okay. Last album of the night. I'm going to talk about...
I had one fact to go.
What did you have your fact?
Well, it's just like, it's interesting how this album was like an unexpected immediate success. Because like when they finished recording it, they had to do a European tour. They were just playing shows all throughout Europe. And when they came back, they found out that their album that just came out was like dominating the charts and the airwaves. And as soon as they returned to the U.S., and like the biggest factor is because like Smells Like Teen Spirit was on like all the time on MTV. And garnered so much popularity. But what's interesting, I just found this out today, the band is actually very dissatisfied with the album.
Are you serious?
They actually weren't that pleased with it because producer Butch Vig made the album sound very clean. They wanted to make like a pop album mixed with like punk roots. And then like, but it wasn't like all that rough. It wasn't like a typical punk album. So like, Kurt Cobain actually went on record to say that he compared Nevermind closer to a Motley Crue album than an actual punk album, which is what he wanted. And what he got later on with In Utero. So, some people, you just can't please some people.
The drummer from Garbage is the producer of the song?
Yeah, Butch Vig from Garbage, that's right.
Wow.
Isn't that funny?
That's
good for him.
Crazy.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt that.
So, the last album of the night that I'm going to talk about is a gem from the end of the 90s. Now, Cody and I, we just had a conversation separate from this podcast about Red Hot Chili Peppers, and your audience might see where I'm going with this, they may not. Basically, I want to talk about the Chili Peppers album that I was introduced to, and that is Californication. That was my Chili Peppers introduction, but a lot of Chili Peppers fans that I talk to who were with them since the beginning will point to Blood Sugar Sex Magic as the
definitive album.
The definitive Chili Peppers album. A lot of people also feel like that was the last time that their sound actually sounded like them. Because they changed their sound for other albums, like after Blood Sugar. But I don't know. There was a time when life got better for me. You remember how I was talking about how I listened to Helplessness Blues by Fleet Fox just to try and just come to terms with what I was dealing with, leaving high school and going to college. So when I was really enjoying college, I actually fell in love with Californication the summer of 2012, and 13 years after the album was released, I was introduced to the album in the 2000s with the song Other Side and Californication itself. I do think Scar Tissue is the most overplayed Chili Peppers track of all time. That and Danny California. Oh yeah. It's like earworms. So. No, because you can kind of tell that they were pressured to make mainstream stuff, and to be fair, it is a kind of mainstreamish sounding album, but I do think that there are some gems that will appeal to the old school Chili Pepper fans. And Cody, the song I'm going to recommend to you is Purple Stain. That sounds like, their classic sound. It's the closest to their classic sound off that album. That and Meet Remis, I think, are the two songs that sound closest to what they used to sound like before Californication. So...
All right. I'll give it a shot.
But,
I think that, I think that I also am, a person that thinks, Blood Sugar Sex Magic is, not only just a great debut album, but, has such a unique, funky, beach vibe kind of sound. And I just feel like when they kind of got a little bit more mainstream, it was kind of like you have a really great best friend, and then he ditches you later on because he became popular.
Wow.
That's kind of how I feel. I feel like, wow, you guys should have just kept to your roots. You had it, and then you just start playing, kind of poppier stuff. Yeah. I'm like,
no. I will say, Under the Bridge is a beautiful song.
It is. I feel like this is kind of I feel like I'm kind of in a rivalry between, I'm trying to talk about Californication, and you guys want to talk about Blood Sugar.
Yeah, I like either or. I'm not the
we might have to kind of just combine this into a 2-for-1, because I love Blood Sugar, Sex Magic. Californication kind of appeals to me just slightly a little more. I'm not saying I'm not saying Blood Sugar is a bad album in any stretch. Yeah. So
you're fine.
If I had to pick a favorite song off this album, I'm gonna have to say that This Velvet Glove is probably my favorite. There's just something so catchy about it and so powerful about it.
Kind of a deep cut is your favorite. Nice.
Yeah. Once again, Scar Tissue is the most overplayed fucking song of all time. Not only is it the most overplayed Chili Peppers song, it's probably one of the most overplayed songs in general. Cause
wait, can sorry, because I always go I don't memorize the names of these songs. I go, oh, it's this one. Is this the one that goes, hello?
No, that's Other Side.
That's Other Side.
Scar Tissue's Scar Tissue that I wish you saw.
Sarcasm makes to know it all.
With the boss and shit is so long.
That one. I will actually change the station if I'm listening to radio and that song comes on. I will change the station. I've heard that song.
I really like Other Side, actually. I like Other Side a lot.
Yeah.
Even if it's a little simple.
But Scar Tissue was the name of Anthony Kiedis' autobiography, and
my mom read that one.
I haven't read it. I just know the chapter where he talks about how he lost his virginity.
Yeah.
Well, do you know the story of how he lost his virginity? I guess if you've read the book, you'll know the story. But basically, his dad was sleeping with this really hot girl, and Anthony Kiedis was so attracted to her that he actually asked her to have sex with him, and he wrote a letter to his dad saying, "Your girlfriend's hot. I want to bang her." His dad conceded, and then they consented and conceded, and then they did the deeded.
Oh my god.
It's fucked up.
That sounds like something out of Honey Boy.
But this is the fucking lifestyle that this is their livelihoods that we're talking about with the Chili Peppers. Yeah. So I mean, I got the song that probably means a lot to me in terms of a frantic panic that I went through when I was in film school is that when we were in a term in the middle of the summer of 2012, when we were preparing pitch packages for films, we would pitch to the school, and then if they greenlit us, theoretically, they would give us equipment passes to get our equipment to make all the movies. At the last minute, I came up with this idea for a short film, and I was low on time to create a pitch package, so I did one in like a couple of days. And then as I was running from Union Station to the campus downtown in Toronto, I was listening to Right on Time, which is the last track on the album. Unless you count Road Trippin', which is technically a bonus track, but
yeah,
Right on Time is the song that plays out the album.
Nice.
Yeah, but I was listening to Right on Time as I am running for my livelihood. I'm like, I want to be a filmmaker, so Right on Time is kind of the song that plays during. If they ever make a movie about, my life story as an up and coming filmmaker, they better put Right on Time in the scene where I'm running from the train station to school to get my pitch package turned in. And if you listen to the song, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that's really all I have to say about Californication. Destruction, it leads to a very rough road, but it also breeds creation. And earthquakes are to a girl's guitar. They're just another good vibration. And tidal waves couldn't save the world from Californication.
Ding.
All right.
I think the lyrics are pretty good.
They are.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
That was a kick-ass music video too.
I know I have my gripes about how later on, they kind of became a little bit of silence, but I can't argue that that's great that the album means so much to you. I can't, that's great.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how Chad Smith and Will Ferrell look exactly alike.
Chad Smith, yeah.
Oh, the drummer of the Chili Peppers, yeah.
Yeah, him and Will Ferrell are like twins, and I think they even joked about that on Fallon, where both of them come on stage dressed like exactly the same, and they were both playing drums, and it's like you can't even tell the two apart.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Alright, Cody, you want to rein us in for the night?
Absolutely.
The penultimate album.
Here we are. My favorite album of all time. I don't think anything is going to top this. I know that Pink Floyd is my favorite band of all time, and that's just pure music. But there's one album from another band which will never be topped, and it means so much to me, and that is Pearl Jam's 10.
Yes.
An album that I have both on cassette and CD, and I'm yet to get the vinyl because I love it that much.
Yay! Vinyl collector.
So it was recorded at the London Bridge studio in Seattle. So going back to the whole grunge phase.
Of course.
So I know Lyle's probably going to know a little bit more about the history and how this whole thing got made, but
actually, Cody, to be honest with you, I'm not really the biggest Pearl Jam fan.
Neither am I, but I'm open to getting into them.
I've just recently started listening to them more. I used to be kind of turned off by them as a kid, but now I get them.
Here's the thing, is that, and this is one of the big points that I wanted to bring up, especially with their first album, with 10, is that, yes, it's part of the whole grunge Seattle whole scene and blowout, but this album really transcends, and it really is heavily inspired by classic rock.
Yeah, it's very well written.
Like,
I'll
it
give you
has
that.
a lot of roots. It has a lot of roots from the Who, Bob Dylan, the Stones, even to a certain extent. So that's kind of like why I don't consider it like a grunge band. Like, I don't really consider Pearl Jam sometimes as grunge. They just happen to be playing like a newer kind of sound, just in this kind of like area where a lot of local bands in Seattle were just performing like kind of more garage kind of heavier bands. So,
They were quite distinct from other grunge bands, yes.
But no, sorry, there's a band that was called Mother Love Bone.
Yeah, I like them.
Most of the band members that were later on to do Pearl Jam, like Stone Gossard and Mike McCready and Jeff Emmert, they were part of that with Andrew Wood. Now, Andrew Wood, if he was still alive, he could have went on to being like an amazingly talented singer. Like, he just did not get his time to shine. But he has an amazing song that I want you guys to check out called Chloe Dancer, Crown of Thorns.
Okay.
An amazing song. Incredible song. I consider that the Stairway to Heaven or Bohemian Rhapsody of grunge music.
Okay.
Crown of
It's like
Thorns.
it's an 8-minute... What's that?
That has my attention. I was curious, and now that has my attention.
So what happened was is that after Andrew Wood sadly passed away from drugs, Chris Cornell, who you guys probably know, obviously, from Soundgarden,
Yeah.
he
Audio
decided
Slave.
I want to make a tribute album to my friend Andrew Wood, and he formed Temple of the Dog.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of you will probably know Temple of the Dog more famously for their song Hunger Strike.
Hunger Strike,
If
yeah.
you look it up. But they got on board this very unknown guy named Eddie Vedder to perform on this song as well. And it's funny, I'll always remember this quote, like the first time Chris Cornell heard Eddie Vedder's voice. He's like, is that human? Oh my god. Like, I've never heard anybody like this before, and it is true, because Eddie Vedder has the most amazing, soulful baritone voice I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty amazing. And once after they did this tribute album, they Stone Gossard, Mike McCready, Jeff Emmert, and Eddie Vedder just became like huge friends, and then they decided to form a band called Pearl Jam, and the rest is history. They're now up there as like one of the greatest bands of all time. But with 10, this is like, I mean, my god, this is their debut album, and they come out right away with Even Flow, Black, Jeremy, Alive, for God's sakes. Alive is like the Pearl Jam's anthem, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Just amazing classic songs. I would have to say, honestly, if I had to choose a favorite, I would probably go with Jeremy. Actually,
That's my favorite, actually, too. I'd agree with you.
Oh yeah, you got the 12-string bass line in there. It's incredible.
12-string, Jesus.
It's a very, I don't know if Evan knows about this. Jeremy is about the story about it is about a history about this kid who was kind of a loner in school, and one day he just went to class and like killed himself in front of his classmates by pulling a gun and putting a gun in his mouth.
Can someone make a movie about that?
I mean,
No, but there is a very like controversial music video that kind of shows some touchy, like they show it as much as they can, like, you know, trying to recreate it, and it's a very dark and like, you know, flashy music video. So maybe watch the uncut version of it if you want to get the full effect on it.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Even Flow. It's a song about homelessness. It has, I mean, right away when you hear his voice, freezing, rests his head on a pillow, and concrete. Like, you're just like, my god, this guy has such a powerful voice. Like, I can gush about this album all day long. Alive, like, apparently this song was written because Eddie Vedder, when he wrote this song, apparently he found out years later that what is now his stepfather, he thought was his actual biological father his whole life.
Wow.
And just that kind of devastation and trying to like come to terms with it, like it's all about that, really. It's one of their more personal songs, but Alive is like the Pearl Jam anthem.
I feel
like
very...
They have to play...
Sorry, I feel very weird with Alive because it's like Eddie Vedder singing it. And Eddie Vedder is kind of the last of the grunge frontmen to ironically still be alive.
Yeah.
Kurt,
Well,
Scott,
I don't even know if I should be
Lane,
laughing, but like, yeah,
Chris.
that's kind of a,
Yeah, all of them are gone.
yeah, Kurt Cobain,
Scott
Lance Stanley,
Lane Staley, Scott Wayland,
and Scott Wayland,
Chris Cornell.
Chris Cornell, yeah,
They're all gone.
sad.
And there's other grunge bands, but those were the main 4 or 5. For sure.
But if I had to recommend, I know that, okay, actually, Lyle, do you know the song Porch?
Probably not by name, but I might know it once I start listening to it.
Sure, listen to it again, but actually know the context and the history behind this. Apparently, this was a love letter to their love for punk music.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I'll definitely take it.
Yeah,
out.
and it's a very fast song. It's a very and Evan for sure. You got to smoke a joint and listen to Garden.
Garden.
Oh, that's
Garden.
Garden takes that song will take your breath away. Amazing guitar in that. I'm not kidding. Like that's a stoner rock song.
awesome.
Like very mellow, it's great.
Yeah. No, I have no misgivings about this album. I know it's very good. It has some of the best hits that Pearl Jam ever created. It's an incredibly good debut.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very worthy choice actually.
If you look up their MTV Unplugs, which by the way, also Nirvana, amazing performance.
Yes.
But Pearl Jam also has another killer one where you got to look up their performance for Black. Oh my God!
Tattoo everything.
All the pictures said, all been washed in black. Tattoo everything.
I will keep all this in mind.
Actually, the song that they closed off with in that performance was Porch. And that was like one moment where like they broke out and like almost smashed the stage just a bit. It's like that Pearl Jam energy kind of broke out a bit.
Nice.
During this, like, what's supposed to be kind of like a more, unplugged kind of, acoustic. He, like, fell out of his chair. He fell out of his high chair, and then he, like, stands up back on it, and he writes literally on his upper arm, pro-life. Choice.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. Pearl Jam, like, they didn't give a fuck about how famous they were. In fact, they wanted to, like, suppress it because they thought it was, like, a joke.
I get a real humble vibe.
The fact that they got so big and so talked about, they're like, wow, we don't want to regret doing music, but like we really just need to like step away from this because like it was just too much for them.
No, I believe it.
That's commendable. It's commendable for like people that just want to play music. Like they won the Grammy, they come on stage and they're like, we don't know what we're doing here, but thanks.
It's
kind of like that lyric. You know, I'm gonna reference Pink Floyd. Do you remember "Have a Cigar"? The lyric, "The band is just fantastic. That is really what I think. Oh, by the way, which one's pink?"
Which one's pink?
Yeah.
Which did you guys know that that's not even Roger Waters or David Gilmour singing that song?
Have a Cigar.
Yeah, Have a Cigar is not. That's the only Pink Floyd song that is not performed. It's like it's not sung by either Gilmour or Waters.
Who sings it? Barrett?
It's a guy by the name of Roy Harper.
Oh, so it's like somewhat. I did think it sounded somewhat different from their other catalogs, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But no, 10, like, yeah, I don't. It's just like that's just pure music. I feel motivated and I feel alive.
Oh, we're still alive. I remember one time.
I remember, I could play that song on acoustic. I remember I did like a parody song with you know the drink. Do you know the drink Five Alive?
Yes.
Just be like, drink Five Alive.
You know, it's hilarious. I was at a bar one night and I put some quarters in an old jukebox and I started playing like nothing but grunge music. And I started off with Alive. There were some people who are like 3 years older than me, just going, kind of doing the vowel game where you sing every grunge song like it's vowels like A, O, E, I, O, U, A, O, I, E. What? That's what they were. Yeah, Ted did the vowel game with Hootie and the Blowfish, but this was like Pearl Jam, and I thought that was funny. It's like, hey, I'm bringing people together with this song. That's nice. It's a nice feeling.
Yeah.
Alright. So is that all you have to say about 10? Is it a 10?
That's all I gotta say about 10. I just have nothing but recommendation for.
Would you give it a 10 out of 10?
I guess. Yeah. After everything I said, maybe more of a 1 out of 10. Yeah.
Your favorite album of all time is a 1 out of 10?
Pretty much, yeah.
Alright. So my final album of the night is none other than Spiderland by Slint, which I have on vinyl.
Damn.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, nice.
So if you're wondering what Slint's all about, Slint is basically the godfathers of math rock and post-hardcore and post-rock. It's basically people who wanted to do something artistically unique with rock music. They wanted to have like this atmosphere. They wanted to have atypical time signatures. They wanted to have waves of distortion that didn't just blare out of nowhere. It was always like an ebb and flow kind of design. And they didn't want to like sing even. They just wanted to speak their poetry out loud and just sort of say it as like the music did most of the harmonization. So the thing with Spiderland that I love most is like much like The Wall. It's an album that I just want to listen to from beginning to end. It's an EP basically. It has 6 songs on it. It's probably the shortest album in our list actually. But yeah, it's just like it's such an inspirational album for me. Like a lot of the stuff I did on my first album, I borrowed a lot from Spiderland. And it's I wouldn't say it's underrated because it's
Sid's Room?
Yeah, Sid's Room is like pretty inspired by Spiderland, but what's interesting is like this isn't like an underrated album or anything. It's actually very highly regarded. It's like considered one of like the best albums like made from the 90s and some of the best like indie work and underground work.
Looking forward to listening to it.
Yes, I'd highly recommend you listen to it. I guess if I had any facts about it, it's like a lot of the band members were like from like there were a lot of punk musicians. There were a lot of like people who did like thrash and hardcore. And that's where their ideas kind of stemmed from, was just going against the grain. And then they came together in a recording studio, and they had a first album, I think it was called Tweez. And I listened to it, I didn't really like it as much because it was kind of, it wasn't as well produced or like clean. It was just sort of like a mess of like sampling. And it wasn't a bad album, but I just didn't like it as much. But
What would you recommend, their original album or the remaster? Because it kind of seems like the remaster is quite longer.
Oh, no, this isn't a remaster. It was a separate album. It was called Tweez. It was their debut, and then they came up with their sophomore album, Spiderland.
Oh,
and,
no, I'm talking about Spiderland. Like, actually, there's like a... Oh, never mind. Sorry. It's the same album. It's just they're adding on way more stuff. Okay.
You're talking about Spiderland's like additionals. Yeah. This is a remastered copy that I'm holding in my hands right now, but yeah.
Okay.
I really like the album cover. Like, it's just a simple letterbox picture of the band like swimming in a quarry that I found outside. I think Ohio. I could be wrong. Indiana. Okay. Yeah, I was totally wrong. So yeah, and I'll just give a wrap-up synopsis. So like, as they were like recording the album, the lead singer Brian McMahon suffered a car accident, and he was already feeling like this heavy like wave of depression throughout the album. You can kind of hear it in his vocals. That he was like, and after the surviving near-death experience, he just couldn't really handle it anymore, and he had to leave the band. But that's not to say that they all just kind of disappeared. The guitarist David Pajo went on a tour with the Yeah Yeah Yeahs as like a session guitarist. He's a very talented guy with very talented with like pedals and like sound reverberation. He's very different with guitar. And the drummer Brad Walford, who's the front guy in the album, he actually got to sing in the album too. That's kind of rare. I don't hear too many drummers like pick up a guitar and it's like, "Hey guys, I got a song. Is it cool if I put it on?" And that was the song Don Amon. He went on to join the Breeders with Pixie bassist Kim Deal. He was the drummer for that band.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of these kids went on to have pretty successful careers with bigger bands, but I think Spiderland will always be like their legacy because I find a lot of it good. And if I had to pick a favorite song, I would highly recommend you listen to the entire album because from start to finish it's just like amazing. But like, I'd probably say the last song, "Good Morning Captain," is my favorite song. Every time I listen to it, it always reminds me of The Lighthouse with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting
cool.
because the song is actually like it's kind of like based on the poem, the rhyme of the Maritimer. It's just it's just this dark song about a guy who's dead and his ghost is stuck in this like void outside the shore, and the only thing he can talk to is a younger version of himself. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with math rock, but I do know that one of the bands that my girlfriend and I listen to are the Foals.
Okay, yeah.
They're like an English band. They're considered math rock. I guess when I looked up like their type of sound, they are in that category. So I didn't know what that meant, but when you were saying about atmosphere, I can definitely hear that in some of Foals' music. So
yeah, if you like stuff like Dinosaur Jr. or like Sebado, it's kind of got that vibe to it as well.
Dinosaur Jr., that's Feel the Pain, right?
Yeah, that's Feel the Pain. And Sebado was the band that basically gave a lot of the songs to the 1995 movie Kids. Have you ever seen that one?
I have to see Kids.
It's an influence for mid-90s, right?
Kids,
Kids inspired mid-90s. Funny we're going back to that movie again.
Mid-90s. And it's funny because when we talked about mid-90s, you mentioned Nirvana, and when Cody, I don't know if I told you this story, but when Lyle and I saw mid-90s at TIFF, it turns out that...
I saw it at TIFF too. I saw it at the premiere.
Yeah, no. I knew something about Nirvana that Lyle didn't, and basically... The song, My Girl, Lie to Me, that was a cover that Nirvana did, and the reason why, and I knew that song because my buddy Sean used that song in a short film that I worked with him on, called Scarlet Night, and basically, in this movie that I worked on, a homeless person sings, you know, my girl, and I, and then basically when I heard that song playing in the movie, I'm like, oh, I know this song, and Lyle's like, you know this song? I'm like, yeah, it's a public domain song by Nirvana, and Nirvana, like Led Zeppelin, is notoriously difficult for letting people use their songs in movies. Not impossible, but just very difficult, and that song got used in this indie movie because it's public domain.
Yeah. And
so and I explained that to Lyle, so yeah.
I have another funny connection relating to Spiderland. The lead singer and his band were playing with they had a few bands before they started Slint, but funny, Slint is actually named after the lead singer's Goldfish. It's just a random name he came up with. But anyways, they were doing a tour with Danzig back when he was doing his solo career. So after he left Misfits. And what's funny is, like, during the car crash, Brian McMahon was quoted as to be singing We Are 138 while he was being dragged into the ambulance. So that's a song off of my first album, Static Age. What a weird world we live in. Where music just seems to jump all sorts of borders. It's crazy. But yeah, no, if you give it a chance, I would compare Spiderland to something like In the Aeroplane Over the Sea, not in terms of content, but just on how much love it gets from a lot of like music elitists or like people who like really take into account like the fidelity of songs. It's very popular among like record collectors, and like I think there's even like a Reddit page that's dedicated to like band songs or like albums that have that sort of like esteem. It's like that, and Neutral Milk Hotel. So yeah, I would highly recommend it to everyone. We've been talking for a while, so I think I'll let the song speak for itself. If I had to recommend pieces to you guys, got God, there's only 6 songs. I can only say so much. Good Morning Captain, I'd recommend to the both of you just to listen to it because it's an excellent closer. Cody, if you like long songs, it's 7.5 minutes long. They have a longer piece, Cody, I'll recommend to you called Washer, which is all about a guy who slowly dies from a pill overdose. And for Evan, I'll recommend Don Amon, or Don Aman. I don't know how to pronounce it, but like I would say Don Amon. And that's a very, very quiet song about a guy who's like struggling with social anxiety at a party. And it slowly builds to it just slowly goes into a fever pitch where he starts having a meltdown in his bathroom. And the distortion on the guitar it's an acoustic song, and all of a sudden distortion just kicks in. It's like, and then it like builds into this crescendo distortion, and then just like slowly quiets down back into acoustic. So I'd highly recommend that song to you. Yeah, everybody, give this one a chance. I don't think you'll regret it. I think the Fleet Foxes
album and Spiderland. I'm gonna have to download these right away.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'll have to listen to Fleet Fox. I'll also have to give 10 another chance. I haven't sat through it all, but I'll give a few of those a go.
Miserable Melania.
Sorry.
I think that's all we have to say for tonight, everyone. If you want to comment down below what are some of your favorite albums, send them our way. We like to hear a lot of stuff from all corners of the world. So,
all right. Well, show did go on for tonight. Happy it did. Thank you to our audience. Thank you, Cody, for joining us again. Now Cody's going to magically Cody's going to get in his time machine and go back to the 90s.
Magically disappear.
Please take us.
Listen to the same music.
Yeah.
What year are you gonna land in next, Cody? Are you gonna go to 94, 97?
I think about going back to like 1995 and listen to like I don't know. I can't really think of an album right now. I just thought of the year.
That's crazy.
Back to the mid-90s.
That's the year I was born, so you're gonna see me as a little baby, and you'll be like, "Hey, you're gonna be my friend later in life."
Yeah.
I'm gonna take you as a baby and put it in a pool and have a fishing rod
with a dollar bill attached to it. Hey, you know what's funny?
It's a time paradox. Like that's you in that album.
Oh man, I would be honored. You know what's funny? The kid who actually was the baby on that album's grown up now, and you see him at conventions, and his only claim to fame is like,
I think he actually reenacted it as an adult.
Yeah, he did. I hope he wore underwear.
Nope.
He did. Oh my, that's funny. And then, like, I remember so many people were talking shit about him in the comments. They're being like, "You're not a celebrity." And then the people running the convention were posting all these Nirvana gifs, trying to be all cool and shit, saying that you guys are assholes. I'm like, just let the kid be. He left his mark in music history, and we should all applaud him.
Anyways, thank you for tuning in to tonight, so to speak. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
For sure. Have a good one, guys. Rock on.
Rock on indeed.
Keep on rocking in the free world.
Yeah.
Not so free with COVID.
God damn it, yeah.